I see some people are familiar with Softr, want to learn more about SmartSuite. Some people want to learn more about no SmartSuite, want to learn more about Softr. Very excited to onboard everyone here. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon. It's like hard to even welcome people. You don't know where they're joining from, what time zones they're on. It's amazing to see the global crowd. Wherever you're joining from, welcome. Thank you for joining. And in today's webinar, as you can tell, and as you've all been anticipating, SmartSuite has been added as a data source to Softr, which means you can now build front-end applications, whether that's client portals, vendor portals, employee dashboards and portals. But think of it as like the layer that sits on top of SmartSuite. So SmartSuite's your work management platform. It's where all the day-to-day work gets done between your internal team. It's where all your database lives, maybe your CRM, your project management, your core workflows live. And then you want to layer an application on top of that to expose limited data to other people, whether it's clients, vendors, employees with limited view, contractors, whatever that may be. Maybe you're putting up a public marketplace or some sort of public website that you needed to pull some data from your internal workflows. And so that's where the combination of SmartSuite and Softr comes in. SmartSuite is a data source for Softr. Softr allows you to design beautiful pages, as we're going to see shortly, with very advanced permissioning. And so it's all laid out and the possibilities are endless. Really, it's amazing how far we've come, where it used to be you had to be a developer to build out all these toolings, specifically when you're talking about an external tool, right? Like internal tooling, okay, that's understandable. You should be able to just grab a product off the shelf and customize it. But external tooling, like building out marketplaces and vendor portals and customer portals, that's all possible today without writing a single line of code, just simply connecting the two tools. And so excited and pleased to welcome everyone here. We're going to learn today how to build a client portal using Softr and SmartSuite, how to get started, take the first steps of connecting Softr and SmartSuite and build it out. I'm Avi Hercenberg, head of partnerships here at SmartSuite. I work with our global ecosystem of partners, service partners, consulting companies that implement the product, affiliate partners that get the word out, as well as technology partners that integrate with us and allow us to expand our solutioning to multiple different areas and use cases. And I'm pleased to have with me here Jakub, who is representing Softr, and will walk us through a little bit more about what Softr is and his own background. Without further ado, Jakub,
sure. Thank you, Avi. So hi everyone, I'm Jakub. I'm a product manager at Softr. So what I'm basically trying to do is to listen what our customer needs and try to translate it into working solutions. And as for the Softr is a no-code platform that lets you build on top of data sources like SmartSuite, beautiful applications, mainly client portals and internal tools, but actually many other custom apps for your business, similar to SmartSuite that works with that solves for different work scenarios and for many knowledge workers can deliver multiple solutions for multiple departments. Same with Softr. We are a layer on top of that, something already Avi mentioned. And today I wanted to present you a use case where actually our both worlds of templates can speed us up in building a nice client portal. Where there will be three different roles using this portal. One will be admin, a person that is running all the operations of an agency. The other will be a consultant, a person that is doing projects with their clients. And finally, clients that can review their projects and invoices related to these projects. So I'm not sure if we are ready to get started, but if we do, I can start sharing my screen, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's dive right in. I love just diving right into the product and getting right into it. Folks, if you have any questions while Jakub is presenting and walking through, whether it's questions about SmartSuite or questions about Softr, drop them in the Q&A section. It's a little bit hard for us to manage the questions in the chat because they're just streaming so many comments, and we love it. Keep those comments coming. But if it's a specific question you want us to address live on the chat, just drop it in the Q&A section at the bottom of your screen, and we will do our best to get to all of the questions live, either during the presentation and mostly at the end of the presentation. And so without further ado, let's take a look how you can get started on building a client portal with Softr and SmartSuite.
All right. I will actually start not from Softr side, but we'll jump into sharing the screen with you. Hopefully you can see it right now. And I will move my zooms here. And we'll start with SmartSuite. First, when I entered SmartSuite for the first time, I really fell in love in this concept of you can basically add a new solution, and from the jump start, you can generate 20 solutions for your business and get started as an SMB. So what I was looking for when preparing this webinar for all of you was I started with adding new solution. And instead of creating application from scratch, what was really helpful was that I could start with template. What I looked for is basically, you can see in my previous search was client, and I looked for agency accounts for template. And this one is particularly useful because it has most of the things that you might need from the portal if you're an agency. So you can manage your accounts, which are your clients. You have projects. Those projects have some goals and tasks. So this was a really good foundation for the portal I wanted to build. Now we might dive in deeper a bit to this template. I've enriched it a bit, but let's start with the basics. So the account table in SmartSuite has things like account name, logo. When we have this customer since, who is the account manager, we have website sizes, like all the properties of a typical client, and also a linked record to projects, which shows like what projects these accounts are currently in the works. So let's jump into projects. Projects have a name, a status, a type of a project, some links, goals, also another linked record to the next table. This table shows what are the goals of a given project. And then tasks are the cool part where each project has typically multiple tasks being worked on. They have due dates, priorities, statuses, and all that goodies. What I added on top of that, and I will talk about this more later, are three tables, users. They will serve as our syncing table with Softr that will determine like who can access the client portal. I've added invoices, and today we will try to live build the invoices page where that lists down invoices relevant to a given client, and also inquiries. So for website visitors, they will be able to to fill out the form and leave some kind of an inquiry about the agency, maybe a specific project, if they could build that for a client. I'll pause here. Maybe there are some questions about this part. I can quickly check maybe. iPhone and Android app, I can address that in a second or maybe later on. Data privacy. Explanation of SmartSuite. We have a question about, can we explain it, what it is again? Avi, can we give two paragraphs about that?
Yeah, sure. I'll jump in. It looks like we have a few people who want a quick explanation of SmartSuite. So I'll just give a quick explanation, and then we can just dive right into the demo, and we'll address all the rest of the questions at the end of the demo. I'll bring them up. So SmartSuite, for those of you who are not familiar, is a work management platform. It allows you to manage all of your day-to-day work. So SmartSuite is designed as a database with project management capabilities layered on top of that with SmartDoc, which is the field that we call for rich document capability. So you can have your rich document, think about like Notion or Google Docs as a field type. So you can have that in the context of a record, and you can have multiple of them in the context of a record. Obviously, like I said, designed as a database, so you can link records across the entire platform, and also project management capabilities. So in my work section, that will roll up all of the users' tasks, recurring tasks, and checklists and sub items, and like time tracking and all the features you're used to from a project management perspective. And in essence, the platform allows you to manage all of your day-to-day internal work in one platform, having that database capability, CRM capability, project management capability, rich documents capability, all in one platform to manage all of your workflows. And then again, as we said, what sits on top of that is software to expose a little window into specific data that you'd like to expose to, whether it be a client portal, vendor portal, and so forth. And so the idea is you do all your day-to-day internal work with your employees, with your team within SmartSuite, and automatically there's some sort of like layer that sits on top of that exposes a limited part of it to whatever front end or portal you need to do. And so this is SmartSuite, what you're seeing on your screen right now. Jacob's doing a great job showing the basic template over here. And so I'll hand it back over to you, Jacob, to just show us how to get started with Softr, and I'll bring up the questions as we go along.
Sure. Okay, so now let's switch to Softr. So as you can see on the landing page, you can build custom apps for your business. So I will jump straight into signing into my platform. And I already prepared a client portal foundation for us today, but actually I also wanted to touch base on templates you can use. So we shared a similar vision on how to unlock customers in getting started. So with SmartSuite, so you can also start application not only from scratch, but also you can choose from different versions of client portals or different versions of internal tools as front ends for your data source, dashboards, marketplaces, and so on. So today what I did is I started with a client portal that looks like this. And this is my studio. We call it a studio. This is an area for app builders where you can craft and tweak your application. What I mentioned is that what we have configured on the SmartSuite side is a users table. And in this users table, I determined that some of the users, like Charles here, will be an admin. These couple of people will be consultants running the projects, and these people will be clients of the portal. Now, on the software side, the beauty of it is that when you are building an application, you can define like who can see what on various different levels. So starting from here, if we will look at this page, we'll see that this header, for example, is visible only to clients, and they will only see option to go into the projects and invoices page, while consultants will just have an access to projects. Non-logged in users will have a generic menu presented to them and an option to log in for those that do have a login. And admins will have full permissions to all the pages. So the homepage is structured in a very simplistic way. But then if you will go into specific, for example, project page, sorry for that. Here we have pages. So this application is structured in this way that we have multiple pages serving different purposes. So in this case, it's like really clearly separated. So you can look at projects and project details, consultants lists and their details, client lists and their details, invoices, and some login related pages. So starting with projects, what I already prepped here is a list of my projects, and this particular part of the page will be visible only to specific people. In this case, clients and consultants. Admins don't need this specific part of this page. The other part of this page is all projects, and this part is visible only to admins. So these people will see all their projects, and consultants clients will see only relevant projects themselves. How this is done? First of all, whenever we add some kind of a block to Softr, these areas are called blocks of the page. What we are selecting here is a source, in our case, SmartSuite, solution, which is our agency accounts application, and a specific table. In this case, we are showing projects. Then what we want to do is we want to show these projects, like relevant projects to relevant people. For that, what we can set are conditional filters. So with different logic, depending on the role, we can say that, for example, we should only show projects where account name of the project is the same as logged in user's account name. To make it more clear, maybe I will jump into how SmartSuite is structured. So if we go to projects, here in the projects, sorry, actually, I have it here. We have the account that is here, so our client, and this particular value should match logged in user's account. So when this happens, we will show only those projects relevant to these people. So by establishing such conditional rules of who can see what, we can really limit kind of data that is available to specific logged in users. Let me quickly check if the things are a little bit better on our end. All right, so yeah, now we could actually take a look at a couple of users and what is their perspective. So let's take a look at, for example, a client. So let's pick Lisa Kelly. as our test user. So she's already here. We are previewing our application as her. So she has an access to projects and invoices. So let's look at the projects. So here she can see only her projects, and let's verify that. As an app builder, you often want to, before you publish an application, you want to verify whether it works correctly. So let's see what kind of a project she is assigned to. So branding, and the client is Ramjack Corp, and consultant is Billy Harpin. So let's see whether this matches for Lisa. So Lisa is working for Ramjack. This is correct. And this project is called branding. So let's see what we have for branding. Branding is related to Ramjack and the consultant Billy Harpin. Okay, perfect. So everything matches here. So this is just to show you this kind of a roles and permissions model. On top of that, like I've mentioned that some of those users are admins, clients, or consultants. So how this is done? Inside of Softr, we have a concept of users that are synced to data source like SmartSuite. So you can see these people are all here, and you can assign user groups to these people in a simple way, like just assigning specific users to a specific group, or by establishing rules like here. So you can say that admin group is when a logged in user's role inside of SmartSuite is called admin. When I'm here in users table, I'm looking at persons and I'm looking up to this field whether this matches logged in user. And by this condition, I'm assigning a relevant user group to a relevant person, and then we can show right pages to right people and right blogs to right people. So this is like a concept of permissioning system on those couple of different levels. So to sum up, you can establish user groups, you can set the visibility to different pages, different blocks, and also set up conditions of what kind of data is being displayed to specific users. On top of that, we can touch on that later. You can also say what actions can be performed by what users. So for example, you could allow admins to create invoices, but consultants and clients perhaps shouldn't be able to do that. But clients maybe can just edit some of the records or add tasks to the projects. So you can control all that. So right, that was the managing permissions part and pages and so on. So now I would like to show you a little bit about customizing a bit the user experience. Let's start with what we see is what we get concept. So basically, when we have those different logs on the page, we can do many things with them. So starting with changing the order of what is being displayed on a given page. Actually, I will go to the project details page because this will show up nicely. So on the project details page, we have a project title and some details about it. This is all pulled from SmartSuite again. And we have a team that is collaborating on a given project. And then we have also a list of tasks related to this project. These tasks are the tasks coming from here, narrowed down to a specific project already. So let's say once we learned, like with the client and consultant, as those people, we are working together on a project. Soon we realize we all know who is on the team. So maybe this is not as important information to be seen on such a portal. So maybe we can easily reorder those and basically move down the block. And now the tasks are maybe more important thing to look at every day for the user. Now, if we will enter details of each block, we can start tweaking the experience, like end user experience. So we have many controls to include here. We can decide how the heading looks like, what is its text size, and see changes being applied here live. So we can do some not as design decisions about the look and feel, but there's a full control of that. So we can change spaces between elements on this block, etc. We can establish inline filters. They are presented here, so you can actually filter tasks by status and keep adding specific fields that will be pulled from SmartSuite. This is just to show you like you can keep expanding of this concept of showing only relevant data that is presented in SmartSuite inside of Softr. So I wanted to actually try and show you how you can build something from scratch. So we'll try to create a section that will show invoices that are relevant to me as a client. So I will try to create some list with, let's say, I wanted to pick, for example, horizontal sliding cards. And let's try to show here invoices that belong to me as a client. So I'm selecting here source. I'm selecting here agency accounts. This is my application from SmartSuite. As you can see, I could actually, on one application, I could pull from multiple applications that I already have in SmartSuite and create this multi-table, multi-app application that connects different parts of my data. But let's focus on agencies. And I'm picking up invoices here. So let's look what I have here in invoices table. I have a title, which, by the way, in SmartSuite, what I did here, it was fun to play with. I've created a formula here that connects different parts of my database. So it connects the title of the project that is a linked record from projects table. I've then added an invoice date and I've added a total cost. So automatically the name of the invoice is generated from these three fields and looks nice to quickly recognize what the invoice is about. So let's try and bring here this title. So now if I will go to content, I can actually provide a title and subtitle and say my invoice. And I don't want any subtitle. For now, I will skip inline filters as well. I just want to have a quick overview of my invoices. And I can actually also remove the action from here. So I won't be adding any invoices. Now, there is no image for the invoice actually. So I can hide it as a field. And as a heading, let's use this. Let's use this title. So as you can see here, it already is showing up as a preview. So I can nicely see this title of the invoice. And maybe let's, as a rich text, okay, I can use a rich text. Let's use the account name, just so I remember my name. I don't need any tags. I don't need more rich text, but maybe I would like to see a due date. It seems like an important field to show. So actually, there's a label that is still called label, so I will name it due date. All right, so maybe this is enough, but actually, we have here in invoices, we have an invoice file. So the actual invoice that I might need to, that I'd like clients to be able to download. So we might bring here a file and show show invoice file and say download. All right, so now it looks like we have a list of invoices. So let's see whether this more or less works. Okay, so I've got invoices here. So if I will click on each of the details, this particular block expands the given card and shows the due date and the invoice to download. If I click on the attachment, it downloads. All right. So now I'm seeing all the invoices. So maybe this is actually an admin function to see all invoices. Maybe for now, I will change that to all invoices and we'll set up visibility for this block to be shown only to logged in users, specifically only to admins. All right, so this is ready. Now, I'd like to restrict that again to the client specifically. So I don't need to rebuild that from scratch. I can duplicate this block, and I have now it duplicated here and just add a couple of changes. So now I will change the visibility to clients. So now we have clients, but now I want to make sure that the client will see only their own invoices. So this is coming back to this conditional filter concept. So actually, I want to create a rule that account name should match logged in users account name. And this way, let's see whether as a client, I will see only my own invoices. So first, let's see which kind of a user I should pick up. Perhaps again, Lisa from Ramjack, if I recall correctly. Yeah, let's take Lisa from Ramjack. Lisa. So it got reloaded. Oh, yeah, she can only see her own invoice, but I can now change the header as I'm testing the application, I'm spotting those little things that I could tweak when building this stuff. So let's do my invoices, and this will be good for later. I also wanted to show you some kind of actions, but I'm checking how are we with time, Avi?
Yeah,
Do we still have
let's take a few questions and see if we have time later. So we'll dive into a few questions, but before I get into questions, I just wanted to address, I see we're getting a bunch of questions about the difference between SmartSuite and other products, or some folks are not so familiar with SmartSuite. And just to reiterate, SmartSuite is a work management platform that provides the database capability, as well as the project management capability, as well as the rich document capability, which hopefully you've been seeing throughout the demo with Jakub. SmartSuite has a bunch of core different pieces that enable users to keep all the work in one platform as opposed to moving out to other platforms. So take, for example, permissioning, right? So permissioning in SmartSuite is all the way down to the field level. It's on the table level as well as on the solution level. And it's also, you can permission by team, you can permission by user, and you can permission based on assignee. So the advanced permissioning is something that plays very well when you're trying to layer on top of that some sort of portal, right? And you can have the permissioning internally for your team members as well as externally for your audience. The rich document capabilities, which Jakub shared, is very interesting, and we obviously have AI built into that as well. And so that's something that enables you to not have to use a product like Google Docs or Notion, but just be able to keep rich documents, the scope of your project, the updates and so forth, in the context of the record. And to address a few questions that have been coming in, I see we have a question over here about maps. So the Softr have a block that can that can display a map view. So SmartSuite has a map view where if you have an address, and we have autocomplete address field types, all the records will show up, and you set up a map view and you can have pins on a map. Does Softr have a map view, or is that a view you have to stay in SmartSuite for?
Yeah, we have a map block. This is coming for a full version of our integration. So this is like a standard block we have, and that already works with other data sources that are now not in beta. For SmartSuite, this is coming. So yeah, it precisely works like, as you mentioned, based on location fields, etc. We can display pins on our end.
Awesome. And I see we have the next question from Brenda. So Brenda is asking, how do you ensure to connect SmartSuite account name to the Softr account name to ensure it is the same person? For example, if the name is spelled differently, such as Joe versus Joseph, meaning I think in the custom permissioning to be able to show every person their own personal data, how do you make sure that the names are going to actually match up?
Okay, so depending on the scenario, like typically we like match by user email, which is almost always unique. And in many cases, specific names are enough because they are unique enough. So depending on your scenario, you can make sure to make it unique. But again, actually the logic and the data is all in SmartSuite. Like we just sync the user table to make sure those rules are reflected, but all the matching happens inside of SmartSuite. So as long as your tables use linked records, like the logic inside of SmartSuite, you can guarantee it because there's no risk of spelling mistakes and so on. So actually, I believe this is also your recommendation, right, Avi, to make use of those linked records and not copy the data between tables.
Exactly. And so when you're using Softr and you're setting up custom permissioning, you want to follow the logic of linked records. If you have a table that's tracking clients and you link each client to the specific projects, and then you link projects to tasks and so forth, when you're setting up your Softr tables and you're setting up the custom permissioning, you can follow that logic and you can say, okay, if client which is logged in is linked to this project, that's when you show them their specific projects. And you can follow the same logic for tasks, because tasks is ultimately linked to projects, which is ultimately linked to clients. And obviously those who are using SmartSuite, you're probably making advanced usage of linked records, and that's the same logic you'll follow to set up your permissioning in portals with Softr. We have another question coming in from Brenda over here asking, if the client makes edits or adds a record, does this automatically show up on SmartSuite without Zapier or Make? Meaning, if you give a client permissions to edit, create a record, delete a record, update a record on the Softr side, does that reflect in SmartSuite, or do you have to set up a Zapier or a Make, or how quickly does that reflect in SmartSuite and vice versa?
Yeah, I can actually show that up live.
Okay.
We can showcase it right now if you'd like.
Sure.
Does that make sense? Okay. Cool. I can jump in. I'll start sharing the screen again. We are on this famous project details page, and we have tasks here. So let's say we have a list of tasks names, statuses, and due dates. So what I will try to do now is I will add an action. So I will add a edit record action, and it already tries to prefill like what I might need to update when I'm working with tasks. So I might need to update task name, and I might need to update status. Actually, but it's coming soon. We will auto-populate the options to choose from for the status, but we can, for now, quickly add them as a choice. Yeah, ready for review as a field. And due date, actually, let's skip it for now, just task name and status. And maybe that's it. And then we have some settings to how to call a modal that will pop up to edit these actions, update, cancel. And we can also determine here who can perform these actions or actually see this button to even change it. So we can say that actually everyone could do it as long as they have access to this list of these projects or these tasks. So let's keep it simple. Let's just show this like how the data gets changed inside of both Softr and SmartSuite. So let me go back to project list and pick up this branding project. And let's see whether the tasks are matching what we see here. So increase revenue, design and implement the brand style guide, and create branded collaterals. And these are all for the branding. So let's now look up how it looks in SmartSuite. So in projects, we have a branding project, okay? And in tasks, let's see, we have here for branding, we have increase revenue, we have design and implement brand style guide, that's correct. And we have create branded collateral for marketing campaign.
The connection between Softr and SmartSuite works without Zapier or without Make. It's a native connection. It's an integration that was built out where SmartSuite is added as a data source. And so once you authenticate your SmartSuite account into your Softr account, the data source is live. And so as soon as you make any updates on the Softr end or on the SmartSuite end, it syncs. And actually, even more so than that, is the data does not live on the Softr end. The Softr end is just almost like a window into what's living in your SmartSuite account, and is reflecting that. And so when you make changes on Softr, those changes happen immediately via our API into SmartSuite. and vice versa. So when you make changes on SmartSuite, it shows up immediately on the Softr end without having to connect it to Zapier or Make or anything like that. And so that is really the power of having SmartSuite as, call it a native database inside Softr, which is that you don't have to use any other connectors or third-party tools to sync the data. The data is actually constantly syncing between SmartSuite and Airtable and SmartSuite and Softr.
Oh yeah, actually I did this finally, and we have it here.
Okay.
So we've just changed the task name to increase revenue faster and cheaper, and yeah, and it worked. And now we can also change. We can actually look for changing the status to complete. Maybe we already designed and implemented brand style guide. And let's see whether this update goes successfully. So I think so. Now it's complete. And maybe admin from this side actually decides that this is not complete. This is still in process. Now, within a moment, like it's near real time, we should see that this is not complete actually, but this is still in process. Yeah.
Amazing. Look at that. Okay. I'll move on to the next question. Tim is asking if the filters are applied on the data prior to leaving SmartSuite or after reaching Softr. And so I can actually take that question, which is that the data, the filters on the data that you apply through Softr are applied on the API level. And so it's not like all the data is coming over from SmartSuite and it's just a filter on the browser level, which I know then you can inspect the browser and get all the data. No, that's not how this works. The filters are applied at the SmartSuite level or more so on the API level. Softr only pulls the data that it needs based on the filters that you give it. And so the connection is secure. And when you're building client and vendor portals, you have nothing to worry about. The next question is more for you, Jacob. So Barry's asking, are Softr app web pages built as responsive design? They display
Yes.
portals on smartphones, iPads, and large conference rooms displays. So how do you optimize the design from like a typical web design to a mobile or a larger screen and so forth?
Exactly. So we apply best practices for responsive design, and also we keep learning. So basically expect blog updates coming soon in the coming quarters to make it look even more modern, even more responsive, and cater to all kind of screen sizes. But already today you can build apps like on the phone and also make them a PWA kind of mobile applications, which effectively means that you have an icon on your phone that looks like an app and opens a browser preview, have a splash screen, and opens up as a regular application that looks good from the get-go. So this is actually
Cool.
my private application for choosing a meal for me and my wife, what to cook a given day. So this is Softr actually, and this is my mobile app.
That's
So yeah,
awesome.
this works.
Super cool. Jacob, the next question is for you as well. Bruce is asking, what's the difference between internal user and external user on your pricing pages?
Yeah, so in general concept, if you think about building internal tools for your own company team, you invite them to your application. Those are treated as internal users, typically recognized by a company or the same email address domain as an app builder. So if you are building as a Avi at SmartSuite.com and you'd like to invite 20 of your colleagues to your application, those are considered internal users. So all SmartSuite, let's say, colleagues. On the contrary, if you're a building client portal and you have clients from whatever place, like all over the world, and they are signing up to your application or you are providing them with a login and password, then they are considered external users. So we are keen to both, let's say, use cases. So if you have a client portal, we know you might have thousands of clients. If you're working with teams, the scale is typically smaller, but also counts differently as these are typically business operation improvements you can view with internal applications.
Got it. Okay, awesome. Thank you. Next question I can probably take over here. So Brenda is asking about the permissioning. Let me see the actual question. Can Airtable have the same level of roles and permissions as SmartSuite for seeing only the particular client records? I guess the answer is twofold. Obviously, SmartSuite is different than Airtable, whereas one of the big differences is that it has granular permissions. At SmartSuite, you can set permissions on the solution level, but then override them on the table level. and have specific permissions for every specific table in your database. At SmartSuite, you can also have assignee-based permissions, which means every person only sees the records that they are assigned to and do not see records that they're not assigned to. You can have edit versus view permissioning, right? So you can allow people to view certain records or view certain field types and not edit them, and vice versa. You can also set up permissions as a solution builder. So that means the structure of the solution, adding more tables, adding more field types, is only given to specific people, and other people can view and edit data, add new records, delete records, but they can't actually manage the structure of the solution. SmartSuite also has field level permissioning. So you can go all the way down, super granular, all the way down to specific fields and say this field, either no one except X person or X team can edit, view, change, etc. And so those are permissions that are not available on the Airtable level. And that's one of the key ways we try to stand out. From the software perspective, you can layer, so the software permissioning works based on linked records. And so there's actually an advantage over there also to using SmartSuite, because SmartSuite can actually link records across the entire workspace without having to sync bases. And so you can link from one table that lives in your CRM solution to another table that lives in your project solution, or base in Airtable terminology. And really, you'd be able to link records across the entire workspace without syncing bases. And so that helps you when you're setting up a software portal and you're going across different bases or different solutions. You can actually follow the logic, whereas in Airtable, you'd have to keep all that data in one base. And so that's a big piece to using Softr and SmartSuite, and the reason why many people are doing this and switching over. And hopefully that clarifies the question over there. We have another question over here, and Jacob, maybe you can take this one. Does any copy of the data get stored in Softr? When you're syncing SmartSuite as a database to Softr and building out client applications, is any data getting stored in Softr?
So there are like two kinds of information that in general are being stored in Softr. One is users table, which are, if you want to provide user authentication, there is a copy of users table, but only actually we are copying the email to sync with and name of the user. So critical fields to actually provide any kind of a personalized experience to a signed in user, but the rest of the data of the user still sits in SmartSuite. And the other part is when you're using charts, which are still to come to SmartSuite integration, are cached. So we need to cache some kind of a data to do pre-aggregations faster, but then those got wiped out occasionally. And whenever you are refreshing a page or something, every 15 minutes, you will get a fresh chunk of data. So the moment you would remove actually your data from SmartSuite, it will also be wiped out from Softr. So it can be considered as a copy of the data being stored, on our end for a moment.
Okay, so I guess it's like momentarily the data is there, but then ultimately everything, the data source is SmartSuite, so everything gets passed through.
I guess typically those questions are around security and different policies. So as long as you have the right and an option to clear the data, you should feel safe, and this is the case for both solutions.
Got it. Okay, yeah. I'll take one last question over here. We're almost at time, and I see we have a lot of questions, so maybe we'll have a follow-up session with Softr and SmartSuite, but I'll take this last question. Jared is asking, I have been using Airtable professionally daily since 2018, thinking about a new project now, deciding between Airtable plus Softr versus SmartSuite plus Softr. What would you say are the top 5 reasons to go with SmartSuite plus Softr? That's a great question, and happy to address this over here. And would love to maybe hear from the crowd if anyone else wants to chime in and throw in the chat some other reasons why they're finding SmartSuite valuable. But I guess from my perspective, I'll just reiterate a few of the things we mentioned over here. So the number one thing I think is being able to link records across the entire platform. So in Airtable, you have to stay in the same base to link records, or you have to sync bases, which counts against your record limitations. And for example, if you want to set up a CRM, if you want to set up a client portal that's pulling data to Softr from your Airtable instance, but you want to pull from your CRM solution and from your project management solution, that becomes very challenging if you're in Airtable, because you can't link records, and in order to have the custom permissioning, you have to follow the logic of records, and you can't link records cross bases. in SmartSuite, you can link records across the entire workspace. And so what that means is you can set up your CRM solution, you can set up a project management solution, and you can link between clients in CRM to projects in project management. And that logic flows through. You don't have to sync bases. You can have up to 250,000 records in your CRM solution. You can have another 250,000 records in your project management solution, still link between the two. And ultimately all that data can pull into Softr and follow the logic of the linked record. So that is one of the key reasons you'd want to think about using SmartSuite. The other piece is custom permissioning, like I just mentioned, for your internal teams, right? So having custom permissioning down to the field level, custom permissioning based on teams within SmartSuite, custom permissioning that is different per table. Those are all things that you won't be able to find anywhere else. The other aspect is having those project management aspects built into SmartSuite and can get pulled over to Softr. If you're trying to run project management, other platforms might not be as suitable. SmartSuite has it built in. You have the reoccurring field type, you have the time tracking field type. You have all those field types that are really suitable to enable you to run project management effectively, both internally using SmartSuite and then pull a window to that using Softr. The other pieces to this are, like I mentioned, rich document capability, being able to have rich documents, almost like Notion in the context of a record, hopefully being able to pull that into Softr as well, and having rich documents in the context of a specific project or client and so forth. The list goes on, right? There's specific things that we're trying to do to solve this problem of not just having a database, but having a database plus project management plus CRM plus rich document. And so hopefully that clarifies the question.
I can also share, like, one of our community members recently mentioned about two things. Like one is actually localization as a feature. Like when he works with a broader team, it's often very helpful when, and I believe this is true for SmartSuite, right? You offer yours in interface in different languages, which might not be the case for Airtable. I'm not sure. So,
yeah,
but it seems so. And the other one was around the fact that first of all, in some circumstances, this can be more cost effective if you depending on how you use it. And the other thing was also related to tracking exactly like how different roles are using, or different users in SmartSuite are using different fields and who changes what. Like it feels there's more control over it in SmartSuite. So these things are priced, let's say.
Yes, these are good points. Thank you for mentioning. SmartSuite is available and localized in over 16 different languages, and we have a global partner and customer community that's very vibrant. And so you'll be able to use SmartSuite in 16 different languages, Spanish and so forth. And so we see a lot of customers doing that. And I think that's it's a big key piece, like you're saying. The controls are definitely, I think part of that is part of permissioning, but there's a lot more governance and control built into SmartSuite. And from a pricing standpoint, that also, so if you look at sort of our API limitations, I think recently Airtable's been changing them. So SmartSuite enables you to really run front-end applications with the appropriate API limitations that will enable you to do so and scale with that. The other piece is pricing. If you take a look, and our pricing is available at smartsuite.com/. Pricing is super transparent, and more than that is we're transparent on the enterprise level as well. So it's $35 per month per user on the enterprise level, and scales down if you're on other sizes, but there's no minimum limitations on how many users you have to have on enterprise. You can simply buy enterprise on your own. You don't even have to talk to our sales team. Obviously, if you have a larger team, you might want to get help from us to onboard or get help from us to figure out pricing, but our pricing is transparent and so forth. And so for those of you who are interested in learning more about SmartSuite, I definitely recommend you check it out. We have constant webinars going on, and we also have daily office hours where you can pop in and just try to troubleshoot or try to build out or strategize on how to build out your workspace. Highly recommended. You can just talk to SmartSuite team members at any point. And we're very much looking forward to seeing what the community builds with this new integration of Softr and Airtable.
Yeah. I'd also like to add to all to all the people that joined today that today we are in beta. As you could see, there are still a little bit of quirks, so please be patient with us. We are definitely going to make it super stable and mature solution and integration. And also, please be aware that even though if you will be checking these things out and some things are not working yet, please make sure to reach out to us because we do have a list of things that we want still to be supported, and the list is long, and we basically keep building them as we go. So there are, as maps were showing up here today in Q&A a couple of times. So they are on the plan, right? They are part of the plan to be supported. So for when you have any questions or wonder whether this will be supported or that will be supported, please reach out to either our support team or our community forum as well. There is a community forum for Softr, so please be questioning things. So, and we
Awesome.
will try to listen as much as possible.
Okay, amazing. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for joining, and looking forward to seeing you on the next session.
Thank you so much for today. Cheers, everyone. Thank you, Avi.